Hey, I'm excited to be with you guys tonight for the next handful of minutes, but I want to play a quick game with you guys first. I need you guys to help me out a little bit. It's a game called Possible or Impossible, okay? So I'm going to need you guys to respond, is this possible or not, okay? Is Tiger Woods ever going to win another major? Possible? Yes? Kind of mixed crowd. That's about half and half. All right. Is anyone other than the Warriors going to win the finals this year? No. We have couple faithful fans back here. Okay. Possible or impossible? Is Justin Bieber and Hailey Baldwin actually going to get married? That thing? No? Dang. Maybe it's impossible. Side note, what is Justin Bieber wearing? Like, caterpillar on the lip. That's rough. All right, hey, next one. Possible or impossible? Will Snapchat ever die? No? Yeah, it might die? All right, what about Instagram? Will Instagram ever die? No. All right, I'm on board with that. All right, ladies, will crimping your hair ever come back in style? Yeah? We feel that? Yes? We have some very strong yeses. Hey, it might. Will anyone ever run faster than 9:58 in the 100-meter dash? Yes? No. This is personal. I don't think anyone will ever run faster than that. Who knows? Who? Okay, maybe him. All right. Will anyone ever run faster than that? Who knows? Bill Snyder, will he ever get tired? This guy is 78. This guy is a machine. It's almost like he's like invincible. Possible or impossible? We don't know. The guy is a legend. I don't know if this guy ever gets tired. I like walk up the stairs and I get tired, and he's like running a whole football program. But possible or impossible? We're going to keep coming back to this topic tonight. But my name is Tommy, and I was in your guys' shoes about 2.5 years ago. I was a math education major here when I was in school. Any math ed majors out here? Couple? Any just straight up math majors? One. Hey, props to you, my friend. But yeah, when I was in school here, I ran track here for 4 years, and then I was a pole vaulter here. And then throughout college, I ended up meeting my wife, Rachel, through kind of a mutual friend. She's from California. And, yeah, these are my heart eyes towards her. She's from Southern California, and she played soccer out at Azusa Pacific University. And then she came here when we got married. She loves the Midwest, all of that. And then we were in love, goo goo gaga, all that stuff. And so naturally, we have a little baby. This is Titus. And, yeah, that's Titus. Titus is 4.5 months. He's a lot of fun. I promise he does come from me. We look nothing alike. Like when I hold Titus, I'm like, we look literally nothing alike. He looks just like his mom, which is great for him. But Titus, recently, he has proven to us that he can fit his whole fist in his mouth. So that's pretty impressive. So that's cool. But so that's a little bit about us. But back to this idea tonight of something being impossible or possible. So often we think things in life are impossible. So many different things in the past and even still today we think are impossible. For example, when you're down 3-1 in the finals, people just say it's impossible because it had never been done in history. Back in 2016, obviously the Cavs come back being down 3-1 in the finals, and they defeat all the odds, and they beat the Warriors. Any Cavs fans out here? Whoa, Kyrie fan? No Cavs fans in here, dang. Okay, they said that is impossible. Back in the day, doctors said that you would go brain dead if you held your breath longer for 6.5 minutes. They said it was impossible. David Blaine holds his breath a handful of years ago for 17 minutes underwater. He proved everything wrong. They used to say it's impossible to climb Mount Everest. Back in 1953, first guys to ever do it. They said it was impossible, but they ended up going for it, and they did it. Another one, they said it's physically impossible to run a 4-minute mile. Impossible. Not until Roger Bannister goes for it and defeats the odds, and he's the first man to ever run a 4-minute mile, and now hundreds of people do it every single year. The new world record is 3:43. And they said no one would ever even run 4. They said it was impossible. A number 16 seed will never be a number 1 seed. Impossible. But this year, first time ever in history, UMBC out of Baltimore take down the number 1 seed going into the tournament, Virginia. They beat them. And it wasn't like some prayer shot at the end and they beat them at the buzzer. They beat them by 20, 74-54. People said that it was going to be impossible. I think things are impossible all the time, even myself personally. Like the whole 16 seed beating a 1 seed, I thought that was impossible. This last spring when Rachel and I were filling out our brackets, she never really done a whole lot of that before, and so I said, hey, just put your 1s forward in the first round. It doesn't really matter. A 16 seed will never beat a 1 seed. Sure enough, it happened. When the Cavs went down 3-1, I said, hey, it's impossible. This is the best team against the Warriors that's ever played the game of basketball. No chance. So even I doubt things all the time. I think things are impossible all the time, and I think all of us have doubts all the time. We always think people can't do certain things are impossible, and we always have all of these doubts. Some of you guys might be sitting here and it's like, hey, it's not possible to get an A in human body or OChem or engineering physics, and so, well, B or C it is, because we don't even try. We think it's impossible, right? So many different things in our college context that we might think that's not possible. Fellows, you might see that girl that you really want to ask out, but it's like, hey, it's just impossible. She would never say yes, so you don't even go for it. You ever been in that scenario before, fellas? So all of us in life, so often we think things aren't possible, or we doubt. And so I was starting to ask myself the question, why? Why do we think things aren't possible? Why do we doubt? Sometimes I think it's just because just what culture says, that things aren't possible. Sometimes I think it's we don't know who's all involved in a certain situation, like UMBC, who beat Virginia. Did any of you guys look at their roster and look at their schedule and some of their highlights and see who they had on their team? No. We didn't know that they were going to be a team that fought with grit and toughness. Sometimes we don't think things are possible because of who is involved. Sometimes, honestly, we just don't have the guts to go for it. So we just say, hey, it's not possible. So many things in life, we just have this perception of it's never going to happen. And I do that a lot. I think we all do that a lot. And so I think it's safe to say that when we doubt, we miss out. Do you guys agree with that? When we doubt, we miss out, because if we don't even go for it, well, we miss out regardless because we didn't even give it a shot. When we doubt, we miss out. And so last week, if you guys weren't here with us, Alex Rebeck talked last week, and we are starting a brand new series this fall called Not What You Thought. It's this whole idea of we might have different misconceptions when it comes to faith, the Bible, God, Jesus, whatever it might be. A lot of times we just have a lot of misconceptions, and really it's not what you thought. And so tonight we're going to have our very first topic, and our topic is this. It's not what you thought when it comes to it's impossible to follow Christ in college. It's impossible to follow Christ in college. And some of you guys that are freshmen here, you've been here for almost 3 weeks now. Some of you guys are upperclassmen, and you guys have legitimately might have had that thought. There's no way that I could have a relationship with God and follow Jesus in my college years. Some of you guys might have thought that before. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Is it possible? Is it not? It's not what you thought. But first, before we dive into is it possible or is it not, I think it's important to define, well, what are we actually going after? What are we chasing? And we're chasing what is following Christ. You know, the definition's up here, and this is just something I wrote down. I think it sums it up a little bit well. But when you read the Bible, how God describes it, it's being in a committed relationship with Jesus that results in knowing Him, becoming like Him, and then the third one, obeying Him. As we go through the Bible, what it says, this is my best accurate definition of what it means to follow Jesus. It's not, hey, I pray sometimes before I eat a meal. It's not just because I go to church on Sundays means that I'm following Christ. Specifically, what we are talking about tonight, is this possible? Is it possible to know God in college? Is it possible to become more like Jesus in college? Is it possible to obey Jesus in college amongst college culture? That is what we are talking about tonight. Is it possible or is it not to follow Jesus in college? That's what we're talking about tonight. And some of us might be thinking, hey, it's not. It's not possible. My question is why? Why do we naturally think that? And sometimes I think we don't think we can follow Jesus in college because we can't live the college life that everyone else has been saying that college should be, or what culture says that college should be like. And it's like, hey, well, if that's what I'm supposed to do in college, man, no way I could follow Jesus in college. But we're going to look at a few stories tonight from the Bible. I do think it is. When we look at just past history, how Jesus describes things in the Bible, I think it is possible. And a lot of us have doubts. And what's crazy, what I love about the Bible and God and following Jesus, people way back then when the Bible was written feel the exact same things that we feel today. That's what I love about the Bible. It is so relatable to what they felt back then and what I feel right now. So many people had doubts. They said things that were impossible about Jesus, the life of Jesus, God, all these different things, and we're going to look at just a few of them tonight. Our first one, Jesus feeds the 5,000. Here's a story. This is Matthew 14. If you want to look at it a little bit later, there's a group of 5,000 specifically guys that are following Jesus. They've been following him around. He's been teaching and things like that. But then the Bible also says that there were also women and children there too. So to our best guess, this might be more like 15,000. 15,000 people, and Jesus tells his disciples, hey, we need to feed them. We need to feed all these people. They've been following me. And he tells them, hey, don't send them away. Keep them right here and we'll feed them. And he tells his disciples that. And then this is the disciples. They doubt. They say it's impossible. So Jesus tells them, hey, they don't need to go away. Just give them something to eat. And his disciples say this, we have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That's it. That's all they have. They doubt. That is what they're saying in this. They're saying, hey, it's not possible, Jesus. There's 15,000 people here, and we got 5 footlongs from Subway and 2 fish from Dillon's Market. There's no way. They doubted. Same thing. 1 chapter later, very similar scenario. 4,000 people with him now. Same exact scenario. The disciples, they doubt. He said, hey, they don't need to leave. It's okay. We'll feed them. No worries. His disciples answered, where could we get enough bread in this remote place to feed such a crowd? They had 7 loaves with them. They had just seen Jesus do it 1 day ago. And then they doubt still. They feel the same things that we feel today. It's not possible. They have doubt. Another specific story, like a disciple named Peter. Peter doubts Jesus. So he just gets done feeding the 5,000. He's like, hey, disciples, hey, go ahead, get on the boat, go across the lake. I'll catch up with you here in a second. Okay, cool. No big deal. The disciples head out, they get on the boat, and they're out on the water. And well, Jesus is like, well, hey, I need to go catch up. No big deal. I'm just going to walk on the water really quick. Have you guys heard of this story? He walks on the water. Jesus does. And as he's getting close to the boat, they're like, hey, is that Jesus? Is that him? Is it not? And he says, hey, it is me. Peter, get out on the water and walk. Peter's like, oh, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll get off the boat. I'll start walking on the water, and he does for a little bit. Matthew 14:29 and through 33. Then Peter got down on the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus for a little bit. But then he saw the wind, was afraid, began to sink, and cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. You of little faith, he said, why did you doubt? Same exact feelings. Back then and even today, we often can doubt Jesus, and it's probably just because we have an improper view of who he actually is. I don't think these people that were following him at the time, not fully, had a proper view of what Jesus was capable of, what he had done in the past. But tonight, I want to look at 2 reasons when we do have a proper view of who Jesus is, what he's capable of, what he's done in the past, it will give us so much confidence that I can follow Christ in college, Manhattan, Kansas, right now when I'm going through school. I can do it. So our first two things, when we have an accurate view of Jesus, it is possible because one, because of the power of Jesus. Because of the power of Jesus. We've been going through so many of these different stories. Jesus fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread. He then feeds 4,000 a little bit later. He walks on water. Matthew 8, he tells a thunderstorm to stop, and it stops. Luke 8, he brings a little dead girl back to life. Mark 7, he heals a man who is deaf, and then he can hear. John 9, he heals a blind man and then can see. Mark 2, he heals a paralyzed man, and he can walk. Matthew 8, he heals a man with leprosy. One of my favorite stories, a guy named Paul in the Bible, throwing Christians in jail, killing Christians. And he ends up having an interaction with Jesus and begins following Christ. He was killing Christians and has an interaction with Jesus. And the power of Jesus, this guy becomes a follower of Christ and one of the most heroic Christians that has ever lived. Another story, a man named Lazarus in the Bible, John 11, he dies and Jesus brings him back to life. And so many of you guys have heard the story of Easter. Jesus himself dies and on his own, out of his own power, raises back to life. It's a lot of power. So many different things, miracles that he has done, and it's not just that. It's not, hey, cool, Jesus, you've done all these cool things with a ton of power. Same thing, very, very similar. In Romans 8, what does God tell us? If we begin to follow Jesus, all of that same power that was demonstrated and all those different miracles, the same power that Jesus used to bring himself back to life will live inside of us if I commit to following Jesus. That gives me a ton of confidence that I can follow him. The God who created the universe, who rose a dead man back to life, all these different things, if that type of person is going to live within me when I become a follower of Jesus, that gives me a ton of confidence that I can follow Christ. Tommy, dude, those are some cool stories, man. Cool Bible stories. Sweet. It's not just these stories. Yes, these happened way back in the day, but it's happening still now. Jesus continuing to demonstrate his power now. This is my brother-in-law, Brian. Brian's an Apache pilot out at Fort Riley. Awesome guy. He was an atheist 5 years ago. Became a Christian and following Christ, sharing his faith with other people out at Fort Riley, former atheist. But had an interaction with Jesus, was beginning to read the Bible and seek it out, following Christ now. 2018 in the military. He's one of my best friends. He was one of my groomsmen. His name is Colin. When we were going through, he went to Mizzou, but we were really good friends. He comes into college, joins a fraternity at Mizzou, not following Christ, doing the whole college thing, begins a relationship with God. Fraternity at Mizzou. These are some of my other friends. 3 guys, they're Lambda Chi's at Mizzou, following Christ, 2018, right now. Some of my other friends that my wife knows is Alexis, Madison, Lexi, Jess, and Maddie, 5 Chios at KU, following Christ. Came into college doing the whole college thing, following Jesus now. Jesus is still doing it today. Another one, this is Reese Randall, one of my friends. He plays football at KU, also in a fraternity. One of the only guys in the entire football team following Christ. It's possible. It is possible to follow Jesus. This is Colin, Phil, and Will, 3 guys in the dorms over at Mizzou that I'm friends with, all came into college, not wanting to grow in their faith, have an interaction with Jesus. Now they're following Christ in college. So I could make that list go on and on and on of people that I know in 2018 who are following Jesus on the college campus. So many of you guys have people in here that are your friends. They're on your athletic team. They're on your dorm floor. They're in your Greek house. You might live with them off campus, whatever it might be. But they are following Christ right now. And it's possible. So many of us in here are. And I'm actually going to welcome up one of my friends, one of your guys' fellow classmates. Her name's Kyra Bowman. And she's a Zeta here, and she's going to come up and share just a little bit different doubts that she might have had when looking into what it meant to follow Christ in college. And so I'm going to welcome up Kyra.
Sorry. Oh, here we go.
Okay, hey guys. So I'm just gonna give you a little background on myself first. I went to high school in Topeka, like some of you guys in this room. And in high school, I just kind of decided that I believed in God and I believed in Jesus, but that's pretty much where my knowledge about it began and ended. And so in high school, I just kind of avoided talking about it, and I just didn't like talking about it, and so that's kind of where I was at. And so when I was coming to college, I kind of brought that same attitude with me, and pretty early on in my freshman year, I met a girl, and we had a few like small conversations before. Then we had one conversation that was kind of faith-related, and after that conversation, I kind of avoided her for like a year and a half after that because I just didn't want to talk to her, and I just didn't want to talk about faith at all. And so I was just trying to adjust to college life and, getting used to class schedule, actually learning how to study because I had no idea, and also just getting used to being a new member in Zeta, and then just trying to figure out the atmosphere of college and figure out where I wanted to be. And so I pretty much spent my time just wishing away to the weekends and just seeking attention from guys, and then really just trying to find fulfillment in, the friends I was making and what they thought of me. So as the semester went on into my spring semester, I started to meet people whose lives looked a lot different than mine, and I didn't really understand what it was at first, but as I got to know them a little bit more, I learned that they were followers of Christ, and that's why their life looked different, is because they're actually living out their faith. And as I got to be better friends with them, I actually went to a church service with them. And at that church service, I just became more interested to actually learn about my faith and what it looked like and what I actually was saying I believed in. But at the same time, I still didn't really want to learn about it. I didn't really want to talk about it, and I didn't really want to make the commitment to reading my Bible daily or be surrounding myself with like-minded people. And I just didn't think I could center my life on something other than the party scene and my own reputation. And so into this summer, I got really interested in what was actually in the Bible. I'd been going to church pretty regularly and talking to people about faith, but I wanted to know what was actually in the Bible and what I was supposed to be learning from that. And so I didn't know where you bought a Bible, and so I just ordered one on Amazon. And when I got it, I was just kind of I opened it and kind of flipped through it, and I was like, this is really confusing. And so naturally, I ended up Googling what to read in the Bible, and it told me to read in the book of John. And so that's where I started, and so I flipped to it, and I just started reading. And a little bit way into it, I was just really confused, and I was like, I don't know why I'm reading this. I didn't have any context of what the book was about. And so I was pretty much reading it without purpose or really a reason why. And so I just kind of closed it and didn't open it again. And so then going into my sophomore year, I decided that I was going to join a Bible study so I could actually learn what the Bible says. And in that Bible study, I met a lot of people who really cared about me and wanted to help me learn and help me grow. And I started to want to change my life to reflect what I was learning. And eventually, later that semester, I decided to wholeheartedly follow Christ. And since that moment, my life has just looked a lot different from my life just a few months prior to that. And that didn't mean I just sat around on the weekends and played board games with friends or something. So that's what I thought Christians did beforehand. But I was still around the same friends. And, in the social scene that Greek life has. And all my personal decisions were changing now. And that's the only thing you could really tell because I was still surrounded by the same kinds of people. But I kind of started making those decisions based off what I was learning in the Bible. And in the Bible, I kind of learned what being obedient to Christ looks like. and basing decisions with him in mind every single day, and then also just leaning on the promises that are found in the Bible when maybe I feel distant from God. And so following Christ is not something I wanted to do when coming to college. It wasn't on my radar at all. But I've found that through my busy schedule of just, working a part-time job, doing schoolwork, and being involved in my sorority, that it is worth it to make time to learn about your faith in college, and it's worth it to really grow spiritually while you're in college. And so I just ultimately learned through God, his word, and his people that following Christ in college, despite what our culture may say, is possible and worth it. Thanks for letting me share.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Kyra. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your story, what it meant for you to begin following Jesus. So thank you. So tonight, Jesus walked on water, raised dead people from death to life. He himself comes back from death to life. It's like, do you think he can help a college student have a relationship with God in college? Yes, absolutely. He has demonstrated his power in the past, and still today, college students are following Christ today in college. I think it's possible. Not only is it because of the power of Jesus, but I also think it's possible because the promise of Jesus. What do I mean by that? Jesus gives us this promise before he goes off into heaven. At the tail end of it, right before he leaves, he says to all of his followers, "And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." That's a big promise. That's a big promise. He's saying, hey, I will be with you at all times. So, but now we might have this question of, can I trust that though? Can I trust what God says? Can I trust what Jesus says? He's given us a promise that would probably make it possible for me to follow him for not only in college, but for the rest of my life. Can I trust that? Can we trust that? How many of you guys naturally have trust issues? Okay, yeah, hey, this is an honest place. Hey, some of us have trust issues, right? How many of you guys, you have that one friend, and they're like, dude, I won't tell anybody. It's like, okay, yeah, hey, I'll only tell you. You tell them your biggest secret, 3 days later, it's out. And it's like, dude, why did you tell people? It's like, dude, I didn't tell anyone. Yes, you did. I told one person. Yes, I can't trust you anymore. We all have that friend, don't we? Actually, maybe the real question is, how many of you guys are that friend? And you guys, hey, honest place. You guys are that friend that they can't trust you. We all have that friend. Maybe we are that friend. But hey, in all seriousness, can we trust that promise? Can I trust God? Can I trust what Jesus says? How do I know? How do we, in normal life, how do I know if I can trust you? How do I know if I can trust somebody? What if they're nice? Can I trust them? What if they go to KU? Can I trust them? Absolutely not. I'm just kidding. Hey, this is a big one. What if, can I trust someone if they wear Crocs? No. Never. I'm just kidding. Actually, I am kind of curious. How many of you guys wear Crocs? Wow. Okay. Can we trust somebody if they wear jorts? Yeah? Okay. All right. What if can we trust someone if they're cute and good looking? No? I feel you guys on that. I feel you on that. I don't know about that because, okay, so listen to this. Titus is cute, okay? Titus is cute. I don't trust him though. He has not proven himself. He poops on me. He spits up on me. He gets so much body fluids on me. I don't trust him. He hasn't proven himself. I mean, just like, look at this. Look at his face. I can't trust that. Like, that is like borderline evil. He is scheming something. But in all honesty, how do we know if we can trust someone? How do I know? Let me go back here. How do I know if I can trust Jesus when he says that? Is it possible for me to follow you? I think it is because I'm going to be with you. But how can I trust that? Can we trust that? How do we know if they've kept their word and promises in the past, right? That's the best way. If we can tell, should I trust you or not? Have they been faithful in the past? There's about roughly around 7,000 promises in the Bible from God and from Jesus. And in Joshua 23, he says this, "Not one of all the good promises the Lord your God gave you has failed. Every promise has been fulfilled. Not one has failed." I was a math major. Pretty good odds. Hundo. Every promise that God and Jesus has made to us has never failed. Can we trust Jesus when he tells us this? I'll be with you always. I can trust that. Why? Because he has kept his word every single time in the past. How many of you guys been hearing about LeBron James' school? It's called I Promise. It's an amazing story the LeBron James Family Foundation has started. LeBron James has promised over 1,100 students, "I will pay for all 4 of your years in college at the University of Akron." It's in Ohio, his hometown. That's a $41.8 million promise. That's a big promise. All the students are in elementary school and middle school. A couple are in high school right now at the I Promise school. The first class that goes to the University of Akron will be in the fall of 2021. That's here in 3 years. But they're still in his school right now. But how do those students right now, LeBron, can I trust you? When I get to the University of Akron, can I trust you? All 4 years, paid for. I don't owe anything. Can they trust him? How do they know? What is their best step of faith to where, okay, I'm going to trust LeBron James? It's if he has been keeping his word so far. And he has. LeBron James, he opens up this I Promise school. It's actually an official building now as of a couple months ago. But so far, he tells them, hey, as you guys are in my school right now, I know you're not at Akron right now, but I'm going to pay for your tuition at the I Promise school. Check. Free uniforms. Check. Free breakfast and lunch every day, Monday through Friday. Paid for. Promise kept. Free transportation to school. Every student gets a free bike that I'm going to pay for. Free access to a food pantry on the weekends. I'm going to provide money and services so your parents can get their GED if they don't have it. He's kept every single promise. Do you think they even question when they get to the University of Akron if LeBron will pay for it? Absolutely not. Because he has kept his word all up until that point. And it's the same thing with God. Same thing with Jesus. He gives us that promise. I will be with you always. That's always. That means if you decide to follow me, have a relationship with me, you can follow me in college. I will be with you. I will be with you at the parties on Friday night. I'll be with you when you are being tempted, when your boyfriend dumps you of 3 years and he dates some other chick immediately. I'm going to be with you through that. When you fail some test that you studied your tail off for, I'll be with you through that. Don't get the internship that you wanted? Hey, it's okay. I'll be with you through that because all that matters is that you're following me. We can trust Jesus because he has kept every single promise, all 7,000 of them, up until now. I can take that promise to the bank and cash it every single time. Every single time. And when we trust someone and we trust their promise, we can move forward. The students trust LeBron James. They're moving forward with a lot of confidence. If I have this thought in my mind, should I follow Jesus in college or not? Because of he has kept his word all throughout history and even today, I can move forward with a lot of confidence. I don't have to hesitate because his promise is true. So honestly, I want you guys to ask yourself, Do you guys think it's possible to follow Jesus in college? Ask yourself that. If for some reason you don't, I put a little box down there. What doubts might you have? Seriously, if you don't think it is possible, write some of those thoughts down on your little handout. I put a box down there for you. And maybe you're at a place where if you write something in the box, you can talk to one of your friends that brought you here tonight. Wherever you might be at, write it down. And then some of you guys might be in this place where you've been thinking about following Christ in college now. And you're like, should I not? Should I do it? Should I go all in and commit to following Jesus? Can I do it? What's that going to look like? I'm nervous. I don't know what my friends will think. And then there's just a reality in life that something will always be impossible until you try. That's just true. Things will always be impossible until you try. And honestly, maybe your next step is you just need to go all in, all chips in. Jesus, I call you out on your promise. I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to follow you. Maybe that is your next step. Maybe you just need to keep looking into, well, before I commit to following you, Jesus, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? And so we're all at different places here. My hope is that we all would move forward wherever that we're at. The Cavs, down 3-1. It's impossible. They could have been like, hey, we don't need to show up for the remaining games. It's impossible. We're not even going to continue the series. Warriors, it's yours. If they would have doubted, they would have missed out because they won the title. UMBC, 16 seed versus a 1 seed. Well, we're going against a 1 seed. We shouldn't even show up. Not worth it. It's impossible. But now they're the first team in history that took down the number 1 seed. When we doubt, we miss out. And honestly, I don't want any of us to miss out on that. I do think it's possible to follow Jesus in college, and I don't want you guys to miss out on that. I don't want you guys to miss out on having eternal life. I don't want you guys to miss out on having purpose in life. I don't want you guys to miss out on personally knowing God here in college. I don't want you guys to miss out on that. I don't. But when we doubt, we miss out. It's not what you thought. It's not what you thought. It is possible, I do think, to follow Jesus in college. So I'm going to pray for us, and then after that, there's going to be some discussion questions on the screen, and you guys can talk about them for a handful of minutes with your friends. So let me pray for us. God, thank you for your promise. God, you tell us that you will be with us always. God, you kept your promise when you said that you would die for the sin of the world, and you kept it. So God, would we have a ton of faith and trust in that we can follow you here and now in college where we're at. And God, it might be nerve-wracking to think about that. We don't know what that might look like. But God, just give us a ton of courage, boldness, and honestly just a ton of faith to really follow you. God, because you do provide. God, you've demonstrated your power in the past and even today. And so God, would we trust that? Would we have a ton of faith in that? And God, that we would take that next step forward and commit our lives to following you. So thank you for tonight. Thank you for everyone here in this room. And we pray these things in your name.